another video on the channel. So today we've got some fun stuff we're going to take a look at. So if you haven't seen this little clip that I did in a video recently, roll it right now. Yeah, hold on. Let me bring down to YouTube. I'm going to show you this. Oh, all right, cool. That's better in YouTube. All right, so take a look. I did get a few questions on it on how did you do that. So I'm going to walk you through how I created that little special effects kind of sequence there. It's nothing too fancy. It's not that hard. It's pretty easy. And I don't even know if it's all that great, but some people had some questions, so I'm just going to show you the basics of how to do that. So that way, if you want to kind of do something similar yourself, you're going to be able to do that too. So we're going to go over that. But before we get there, I wanted to talk about Artgrid. So Artgrid is a stock video site that I've been a part of for a while. You may have heard of Artlist, which provides music for your videos, and I've been a part of that website too. Artgrid and Artlist, they kind of go together. So Artgrid has some great footage in there, and you may have seen some of the cool clips I've been putting at the end of some of my videos. Been putting some stock footage in for that, just to kind of make it a little more interesting and use some of these cool clips that they have on there. So let's jump over to the computer real quick. I'm going to show you Artgrid, the website, what it looks like, how you navigate around a little bit, and some of the cool features that they got there. And then after that, we're going to jump into DaVinci Resolve, and I'm going to show you how to create that little sequence that I came up with that you just saw. So let's get in the computer and check out some Artgrid. All right, so here is Artgrid. This is their website here. I'll leave a link in the description below. And this site is very similar to Artlist. If you saw my video on Artlist and all the great music that they have, Artgrid is set up in a very similar way. So this is the homepage that you'll come to here when you first jump into the website. And you'll see they've got some top picks here of different videos and video clips. And when you kind of hover your mouse over some of them, if you click on it, you see it'll do a little preview for you of the file. And there is just all kinds of stock footage that you can use here for your videos, all kinds of cool stuff. And one thing you can do, obviously, is come up here and search for whatever you might be looking for. And also over here on the left, you've got video themes. So if you go ahead and click that, they've got all kinds of different themes you can look for. People, city, transportation, you name it. This website has pretty much anything you might be looking for, at least anything that I've needed so far. You can also search by shot type. It gives you framing, camera movements, location, format, speed, all kinds of good stuff here of how to search through these videos to find what would work for your project. And you also have a category here for people with all kinds of subcategories underneath that. And you can come here, click on filmmakers, and this is going to show you some highlights of different people that are on the platform here. So really cool to go through and check out a lot of this stuff. All right, so there's the website, kind of how to navigate around. There is tons of cool stuff on there. And even if you're not interested in the service, head on over there and check it out because there's a ton of cool stuff to look at. So now let's talk price. I'm going to throw it up on the screen here and just go over it real quick. What does Artgrid cost? So the first package that they offer is if you just want to get started, you want to try it out, but you don't want to go too crazy and go full in on it. You've got the Junior HD package, and that's going to run you $299 a year. Now, you do see on the screen here that the cost is broken down monthly, but you cannot pay monthly. You have to pay yearly. So keep that in mind. You got to pay for the year. Oh, and by the way, if you use the link in the description below, you're going to get 2 free months. So that'll get tacked onto your year subscription. So you'll get 14 months instead of 12 months, and that goes for any of these packages we're going to talk about here. All right, getting back into our pricing, the next package we have is the Creator 4K kit. That's going to run you $479 for the year. Again, you see the monthly cost broken down here, but you can't pay monthly. You have to pay yearly. And that's going to give you 4K to 8K clips. These clips are already going to be color graded for you, and there's tons of great stuff that you can get in this package. And the Pro level package here is $599 per year. Again, you see the monthly cost there, but you have to pay yearly for the service. And that's going to give you up to 8K footage. It can be color graded, it can be uncolor graded, there's raw footage, there's just the whole gamut of everything that you might need. Now, I don't know about you guys, but this little computer here would not handle 8K footage. It would probably kill it. But anyway, if you need 8K, definitely check that out. While it is not cheap, there is a ton of great stuff on there. And I just want to say thank you to Artgrid because they did provide me with a subscription to their service so that I can try it out and share it with you guys and just provide my feedback. So that's it for Artgrid. Now let's jump over into DaVinci Resolve, and I'm going to show you how to create that sequence that we saw earlier. All right, so here we are in DaVinci Resolve, and let's just break this down, and I'll show you how I created this little sequence. First, I'm going to show you my timeline here, just so you can see what it looks like, and then I'm going to go through and actually break down each piece and show you how I made it. So if I start by just changing my view here so we can see the clips a little bit, so we can see what we're looking at, make that a little bigger. I'm going to bring down the audio here a little, move those down. So it starts out with a clip of me sitting at my desk here. And what's going to happen is I'm going to pull down a YouTube screen. So how did I do that? Well, the first thing I need to do is think about my pieces. So obviously I have my video here. Let's make this a little bit bigger. I've got my video of me reaching up and pulling down the YouTube screen, which if I move ahead a little here, you'll see here comes the screen and it's coming down. I'm actually going to go ahead and mute that so we don't have to worry about the noise. So I'm going to go ahead and recreate this over here on the right-hand side of my timeline just so we can walk through it step by step and you can see how I did it. So first I am going to click on my clip here, and if you hold your Option or Alt key, you can click and drag it over, and that's going to make a copy of it for you. Next, I'm also going to drag the other clip of myself, drag that over, holding my Option or Alt key. And now if I play through it over here, we should just see it go from one clip, me grab the screen and pull it down, and there it is. So I did make some minor adjustments. I'm just going to go ahead and reset these in my transform panel here. So again, just playing through. I'm saying, let me get a YouTube window. I'm going to reach up, grab the window, and bring it down. So that's how I filmed it. So next you got to think about, how am I going to get the YouTube window to come down around me? So first you need to actually have a YouTube window to bring down around you. So that's what these two clips are right here. So I'm going to go ahead and you can select both of these and use Option or Alt and click and copy them. Or you can just use Control C and Control V. So I'm going to paste these guys over here. I'm going to zoom out a little. And I know I want them to line up right here, so I'm just going to go ahead and drag them on over till they line up right here. I'm going to zoom in a little. Okay, it looks good. So as I raise my hands up, it looks like we have this video clip in the right spot where I'll start to pull it right down. So the next thing we need to do is mask out this area right here. And it can get a little tricky here, but I'm going to show you how, at least I did it for this clip. Might be a little different depending on your situation and your particular clip. So to do that, we're going to jump into the color tab. So highlight your clip and come down and jump into the color tab by clicking this icon right here. Now that we're in the color tab, we're going to use a power window to mask out the area inside here where we don't want to see. So the way that I like to do it is to create a new node. I'm going to use Option or Alt S, and that's going to add in a new node for me. Or you can right click, come to add a new node and do a corrector node. The next thing I want to do is come and click on the square. I'm going to use that as my mask. And then I like to come down to the softness area here, which is your feathering on the edges, and just make that all 0. So I'm going to zoom in on our clip here a little bit. Now I'm just going to adjust these to where I want it to be, which is just around our video frame here. And you just line it up the best that you can. I'm just doing it quick here, but you may want to take more time with your clip and get it a little more exact. So now you might be thinking, okay, you got the window on there, but it's not masking it out. Why do I still see it? All right, let's close these clips, get a little more room here. So what we need to do is add an alpha out channel, and that's going to allow the mask to work for us. So to do that, come over to your node area, right click, come down to add alpha output. And now you just want to connect up your blue icons here. So we're going to connect those two, and we're going to connect this guy down here. Now you see, we only see the center of our power window here, and we actually want to see the opposite. So if you come over to your power windows here and you click on this little icon, that's going to give us what we want to see right now. Now we're going to have to add in another window here in a second, and I'm going to show you why. But first, let's jump back to the Edit tab. And now we want to think about animating this window. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to do that by just using the transform tools right over here. But before we do that, like I mentioned before, we need to add in another power window. So why is that? Well, let's say we're going to have our clip start right here. Now we need to move it up off the screen for our YouTube outline here. So I'm just going to come over to my transform. I'm going to grab the Y position and I'm going to move it up. And you notice as I move it up right here, we just have a black screen. So that's because there's black around the outside of our video clip and we need to mask that out so we can see what's underneath. So I'm going to move this up until it's off screen. There we go, off our viewer. And now I'm going to jump back into our color tab. So when I add a new node here, it's going to be another mask. And if I zoom out, you'll see there's our original mask that we created. I want to add it onto a new node. So I'm going to click our last node here, and I'm going to use Option or Alt S to add in another node. Now with this one, I want to, again, I'm going to pick a square, and I want to slide it down into my viewer. And now you notice we still don't see anything there, yet over here you do. So we need to actually connect up our nodes. So go ahead and unlink the blue node here. You can just click on the line, then connect up these guys, and we'll drag this guy down here. So now you see, okay, I can see that. And if I go back a node, you see my other power windows up here. So let's just take this. I'm going to actually make all these 0 again, because I don't want to feather it at all. And now I'm just going to zoom in and make this window fill up the space I got. You can be nice and big. It doesn't have to be too clean here. We just want to make sure that we can see everything that's on the inside. So we kind of want to line up these edges here, or at least get them close. So I think that's close enough for now. We're going to have to make an adjustment in a little bit, but that's just fine. So let's jump back into the Edit tab now. And now we want to think about how are we going to animate this thing, right? Because right now it's just way up off the screen. And actually, if I reset the position, you'll see, okay, look, we can see where it is there. And we notice, okay, our one mask is a little high because the bottom's getting cut off. So actually, since we've got it here, let's jump back into the color tab and fix that. So back in the color tab, I'm on my second mask here. And if I zoom in, okay, we see that's too high. So I'm going to drag this down just a little bit. Perfect. That's exactly where I want it to be, right about there. Perfect. So now we're going to go back to the Edit tab, and now we're going to animate this. So we want this to be off screen and start coming in screen as I pull it down. So as I had done before, I'm going to come over to my Y position, and I'm just going to drag it up off screen, just out of frame. And now we see that our window here is a little small because remember, we scaled that. So in hindsight, I probably should have left it big. So let's just go ahead and reset that clip so it fills the frame here again. So I'm going to just select my clip, come over to transform and hit undo all these keyframes here. Let's actually reset the keyframes. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead frame by frame here until my hands just start to come in the frame. And now what I want to do, select my YouTube window, and I'm just going to come off frame. I'm going to go back one frame. I'm going to add a keyframe by clicking the little diamond icon right here. And now I'm going to move ahead. And now every time I move my Y position here, a keyframe will automatically be added. You don't have to click the keyframe each time. So I'm going to lower this down, and then I'm going to go frame by frame and just keep lowering down the window so it looks like it's coming with my hands. Right down to there. Next frame, right to here. And now I want it to come all the way down and look like it bounces, like I threw it really hard. So I'm going to go ahead, frame. I'm going to drop it way down and actually a little lower than it should be. And then go to the next frame and then have it bounce back up to where I want it to be, which would be at 0. All right, so that looks pretty good right there. So if I play through that, let's see what that looks like. Okay, so now that looks pretty good here. We see it comes down and it bounces. Perfect. So now I want to work with the clip of me underneath a little because my head's cut off. So I want to have this scaled down. And in hindsight, I probably should have waited till I got the frame set, but that's all right. We'll just go back and fix it up. So I'm going to select my clip of me, and I want the video to be the correct size when I get here. And I think I would like to start scaling it when it's about right there. So first I have my clip selected. I'm going to come over to the transform area. I'm going to click on the keyframe for all of my transform tools. I'm going to go ahead one frame. And now since I already added a keyframe, I don't have to add any more. I can scale this down a little. I'm going to lower it a little, rotate it kind of like we did before, scale it down. There we go. So that looks pretty good. So now once it gets here, if we go through frame by frame, it kind of jumps real quick. And with the other things we're going to add in, hopefully that won't be noticeable. But let's play through and see how that looks real quick. Perfect. So it looks pretty good for now. But one thing I do want to do is take my settings. So for the clip of me in the background here, I'm going to look at these numbers in my transform node, and I'm going to make my entire next clip all these settings. So I'm going to use 0.88, -22, and 4. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick by selecting my clip and just punching in the numbers. All right, so now that this part looks pretty good, I want to just come and match this clip to the one we already did with the YouTube frame here. And we can do that pretty easily. So I'm going to select my clip, jump over into the color tab, and I want to match it to this clip that I did previously, which is this guy right here. So all I have to do, really easy, click on my clip, and you want to come and hover over the clip you already did that you want to match your settings to, and just middle click your mouse. So if you have a scroll wheel, you middle click there, or if you've got some other kind of mouse or whatever, you just middle click on it, and it's going to copy all of the settings and nodes from this clip into my current clip. So now we see that's perfect. So let's jump back into the edit tab here. Make sure this looks pretty good. We'll play it through from the beginning. Looks pretty good. I pull it down. All right, I think that's close enough. So let's say I'm happy with that. I think that's close enough. Now there is a little bit of a transition between these two clips. So one easy thing you can do is just throw a little video smooth cut on there, transition, and that should help kind of smooth things out a little bit. I'll make it real small so it'll be real quick, and probably nobody will notice once we add in the other items here. So after I created this little sequence here, I was like, I should add in something cool. You know, maybe I can find some cool stock footage from Artgrid. And that's why I told you guys about Artgrid in the beginning. I thought to myself, hey, maybe I can add in some sparks, a little explosion or smoke or something like that. So let's take a quick look at some of the clips I was able to find on Artgrid. So the first one I thought would be cool is this little blue explosion. I thought it'd be kind of cool as I slam down the window if you got a little explosion going. So you can see it's in slow motion, but I actually ended up speeding it up. But it's pretty cool, so I thought that would be good to use. The next thing that I used was sparks, and I actually made 2 copies of this, so you'll see how we're going to do that in a second here. But you got the sparks, and I thought it'd just be kind of cool, look like the window sparking on its way down. And last but not least, I've got a little bit of smoke here. You got to have a little smoke, right? If you got an explosion, you got to have a little bit of smoke, right? So let's add in these elements and see what we can do here. So the first thing I want to start with is the blue powder explosion. So we want that to hit as soon as the window comes and hits the ground. So I'm going to say right about there. So I'm going to take my clip, I'm going to drag it in, line it up. And now the clip is really slow. It's in real slow motion. So I'm going to speed it up. So I'm going to select my clip. I'm going to press Command R, and that's our speed change controls. And a nice, quick, easy way to do it is just hover over where the little line is at the top here, and you get these 2 little double arrows, and then you can just drag it in, and it changes the speed to match however long you make your clip. So let's drag it in like that. Let's see how fast that is, and just see how that looks. All right, that's pretty cool. Probably could even be faster. I'm gonna speed it up. Now you might be thinking, all right, well, you can't see through it, so how am I going to see my clip underneath? Well, that's where blend modes come in handy. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm big into Photoshop and stuff, and it's very similar to that. So select your clip, come up to the inspector, and because it has a black background to it, I can actually come down to screen, and the black background actually gets wiped away. So you can see, now you can see it on my clip. The blue of the explosion's a little washed out, but you know what? It's still cool. You can always adjust the colors a little bit and darken it up a little, add some contrast or whatever. But it still looks pretty cool. So if I just play through that, boom. You see I bring it down and there's a little explosion there. So maybe it even needs to back up just a little bit. I'm going to select the clip and use the comma key to move it back frame by frame. And let's see how that looks. Boom. So we got the little explosion going there. I like how that's starting to look. So we got our explosion, we got our window sliding down. Next, I want to add some sparks along the edge as that window slides down. So to do that, I'm going to grab one of our sparks, and I'm just going to drag the clip in. And again, it's a longer clip. We don't need it that long, so we can actually speed it up a little if we want. I'm going to select my clip, Command R. Again, drag it in, speed it up. Let's see, how does that look? Pretty good. Now, same issue here. I can't see the clip. So how do I get it so I can see through to see the background? Again, you're going to come over and you can try different blend modes and see how they work. And different blend modes are going to give it a different look. So in this case, hey, lighten looks pretty good. That's not so bad, right? But I've got my sparks coming right up in my face. That's not what I want. I want them to actually come down the sides. So in order to do that, I can just use my transform tools, and I'm going to rotate it. And I'm actually going to put it straight down here, kind of like that, I guess. And to make it even easier, you can come over and click on this icon right here, and then you can just drag it around wherever you want. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it in that corner up there. I think that looks pretty good. And let's say maybe I want another one. Well, I can just grab my clip down in the timeline, and I'm going to use the Option key, click, and just drag up, and it's going to make a copy for you. And since we've already got our tools selected over here, I can just drag it over, and I'm going to come down and grab this guy and rotate it around, position it wherever I'd like to. Can change the size, do whatever you think looks good. And you can see it's getting a little hazy in there. Maybe you want to try a different mode, even screen. Let's see how that looks. Okay, you can see the edge there, so I'm just going to leave it on lighten. You can always go through and feather the edge too with a power window if you need to, and that's going to help blend everything in a little bit better. But in this case, I'm just going to leave it how it is. So let's see what this is looking like. I'm going to turn off this guy by clicking that little icon there. Boom, sparks. So I only want the sparks to show as the window's coming down. So from like say right about here, I'll slide the sparks over and I want them to fade in a little bit. So I'm going to just drag in, we'll do, I don't know, 3 frames. See how that looks. And I want to speed them up a little bit because by the time it gets there, I want them to start to fade out. So I'm going to hit Command R, which is going to bring up my retime speed again. Make sure you have your clip selected, then hit Command R. I'm just going to drag this guy in here. And same with the one below it. Select my clip, Command R. Drag in the speed. And let's see what that looks like. All right, that's a little too short. So I'm going to stretch it back out a little bit. See how that looks. And a lot of this is just trial and error. You do what you think looks good. I'll make it a little longer, and then I'm going to actually have the clip fade out. So to get rid of your speed controls, you can, again, select your clip and press Command or Control R. I'm going to fade it out. Maybe do 5 seconds, see what that looks like. Try it again here. All right, and it's a little slow there because my machine's trying to render it all. But you get the idea of what it's starting to look like here. And the last part that I wanted to add on top here was the smoke. So I'm going to go ahead, grab the smoke here, and bring it down on top of my clips. And I want to fade the smoke in. So I'm going to go ahead and add a fade of, say, 4 frames there. I'll just start it right with the sparklers there. Let's see. Again, we have a black background here, so I can change this to a composite mode or blend mode. I was calling it blend mode. It should have been composite mode. But I can change that to screen. And that's going to take away the black background for us. So if I play through here, we've got a lot going on. Boom. It all disappears, and we're left with just the smoke. So one thing I think I do want to do is for our explosion on the bottom here, looks like I still have my speed controls up, so I'm going to select the clip, Command or Control R. I want to fade it out, so I'm going to bring that in, say, 6 frames. So if we watch it here, grab the window, pull it down, sparks, and then I like to leave the smoke going for just a few seconds. Kind of looks cool, like everything's cooling down. So let's say I'm going to come to, I don't know, about here, and I cut my clip, delete it, and then I'm just going to fade that smoke out over however long you think looks good. It depends on your clip. So this is how it's starting to come together. And again, all this stuff can get fine-tuned. I'm just kind of going through it quick here to hopefully show you the process and, give you an idea of how to do it. So the last thing that I thought would be kind of cool is if I added like a flash bang, when the thing comes down, the window comes down and it hits, it makes like a flash bang kind of thing. So in order to do that, that's pretty easy. I actually just created a solid color effects layer and made it 1 frame long. So if you come to your effects library, let me close my media pool here. You come to your effects library, come down to generators, and you have solid color. I'm going to grab that and bring that out here. Now I just want it to be 1 frame, so I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to go ahead 1 frame by using the arrow key, select my clip, and I'm going to cut the clip. And I use Command B to cut the clip. I'm going to delete the rest of it. So when it dips to a color, I want it to dip to white. So I'm going to come over, select my clip, come to my inspector, and double click on color right here. And I'm going to select white and click OK. So now it should look like a flash. So let's watch it through and see what it's looking like. So you can see it looks kind of like a flash there. So kind of cool. So the last thing I wanted to do was add in a sound effect that kind of just brought this whole thing together. So I did have a sound effect from a transition pack that was kind of like a boom noise. So let's drag that on down in there. And let's hear how that sounds actually by itself real quick. All right, so I'm going to back this up. So let's put the playhead right where the explosion happens and right where the window hits the ground and where our flash is. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom way in. I'm going to line up our sound effect right there. So move it back just a little. All right, that should do it. So let's back out here. We're going to play through this and see what we got. And again, I just muted myself so we don't have to hear all that. All right, kind of cool. Looks like I have to adjust this window here a little bit too. But you get the idea. There's going to be little tweaks you need to make along the way. But this is kind of the whole process of how I put this little sequence together here. And again, just something kind of cool to, I don't know, bring something interesting into the video. All right, guys, so there you go. That's how I put together this little sequence. I hope it was helpful for you and showing you just how to kind of keyframe things, kind of start to put things together, add on. use some cool footage from Artgrid if you can work it into your video, kind of like I did here. It works out pretty good. So hopefully it was helpful. If it was, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you got questions on your own stuff, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'll help you out the best I can. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks to Artgrid again for giving me the subscription and all the great footage that they have over on their site. Check it out if you're interested. Give this video a thumbs up if it was helpful. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Peace!